Hey everyone, what is up? It's OddBall Comics here. So today we're going to talk about my favorite Nova Corps member. Not this guy, but that guy. Nova debuted in The Man Called Nova, #1, in 1976, written by Marv Wolfman. The original series lasted 25 issues from September of 1976 to May of 1979. The character then disappeared into obscurity until returning as a member of the original New Warriors, debuting in The Mighty Thor #411, which was December of 1989. So from here we got a little bit of publication history, so let's actually dive into the character itself. When the last surviving member of the planet Xandar's elite Nova Corps, Roman Day, is dying, he selects a New York high school student, Richar, to replace him. Given the uniform and powers of the Nova Centurion, but with little instruction how to use them, he starts his adventures calling himself Nova. One day, Richar ends up discovering orbiting Earth and uses it to journey to Xandar, the homeworld of the Nova Corps, where he ends up joining Xandar's war against the Skrulls. And with the help of Rom the Space Knight, the Skrulls were eventually defeated. But wanting to return to Earth, Richar is released from his duties on Xandar and relinquishes his powers in the meantime. But upon his return to Earth, Richard ends up struggling to readjust due to his failure to complete high school, but unknown to him, the planet Xandar in the meantime is utterly destroyed in an attack by the space pirate Nebula. With the help of Night Thrasher, Richar regains his powers and joins the New Warriors once more. So Richard Richar eventually encounters Garth and Saul, actually a former Nova Corps Centurion who had been driven insane by absorbing too much Nova Force, which is the source of all of the Nova Centurion's powers. So I'm calling him Sal for short. So Sal ended up seeking more power so he could restore Xandar to its former glory. He ended up stripping Richar of his powers and transporting him to Xandar, where Richard was ended up resurrected thanks to another surviving Xandarian and a former Herald of Galactus named as Airwalker. Airwalker and Firelord end up joining Nova and the New Warriors into a battle in space versus Sal, with his new powers calling himself Supernova. During the battle, Supernova tried to drain a powerless Richard Richar again, but this led to Richard Richar himself having full control of the Nova Force. Once defeating Supernova, Nova was convinced by his friends to actually give the powers back and use it to reboot the Xandarian World Mine, a network that serves as a repository of all Xandarian knowledge, culture, and power. Having done this to the World Mine ends up resurrected the Xandarian race, and the Nova Corps were reborn. So with this, Richard Richar ends up receiving the rank of Centurion Prime. Nova briefly travels to the US with reformed New Warriors as a part of a reality television show, but Richar quickly leaves the group when he is summoned to Xandar alongside the entire Nova Corps, which has been fully mobilized to respond to the Annihilation Wave, a force that was from the Negative Zone. Led by Annihilus, the wave ends up decimating Xandar and the Corps in a surprise attack. As the only surviving Centurion, Richar makes contact with the Xandarian World Mine once again, where the World Mine ends up uploading himself and the entire Nova Force into Richard Richar, greatly enhancing his abilities. During the Annihilation War, Richar takes command of the United Front, which was really a loose collaboration of soldiers in a nearly year-long campaign. Eventually, with the United Front suffering a swift defeat, he ends up leading a small team to the Wave's conquered territory and eventually engages Annihilus and killing him. After the Annihilation War, Richar returns to Earth to rest. However, finding out that his pleas for help in the Annihilation War were ignored by Earth's superheroes because of the Civil War going on in the meantime, Richar ends up returning to space, feeling really out of place on Earth. Eventually, another lost Nova Corps ship appears from a Terran spacetime also known as the Fault. Later, Richar and Darkhawk end up finding themselves inside the Fault itself. So after they find themselves inside the Fault, he ends up going back to Project Pegasus, where he confronts an alternate Quasar who originates from the Cancerverse, a universe within the Fault itself. So entering the Fault to assist the Guardians of the Galaxy now, Richar and the Guardians watch Thanos actually destroy the evil Marvel. But now facing an enraged Thanos, Richar pulls a Nova Force from the rest of Nova Corps for extra strength. He and then Star-Lord are able to hold Thanos back for a few minutes while waiting for the Fault to close on itself, trapping all three of them inside the Cancerverse. As the two heroes continue to fight Thanos for the Cosmic Cube, which had the power to send them home, Richar charges the cube with the Nova Force to create a doorway for Star-Lord, intending to remain behind and keep Thanos from escaping as well. But little do they know, when Star-Lord escaped, but Richar is unable to prevent Thanos from escaping as well, really just trapping Richard Richar inside the Cancerverse now. And from here, we haven't seen Richard Richar in a long time, so we're gonna fast forward a little while, and this is actually to the new version of Nova, Sam Alexander's Nova. So Sam Alexander ends up locating the Xandarian world mine, which is still connected to Richard Rider now. So once he talks to Xandarian world mine, Rider's consciousness awakens within the world mines during the encounter, and it is revealed that Rider and the world mine survived the closure of the fault and remain trapped in the Cancerverse. Using the Nova Force, Rider manages to escape the Cancerverse thanks to Sam Alexander. Now, from here, I am going to talk about some powers and abilities. Nothing too crazy, but let's dive into it. The Nova Force is a power that all the Nova Corps members can control, which gives Richard Rider superhuman powers, including flight, superhuman strength, speed, and durability, as well as the power to absorb energy directed against him and release it as gravimetric pulses and beams, either from specific parts of his body or his entire body itself. On top of that, Nova is great at hand-to-hand combat. Nova ends up wearing a standard Xandarian Nova Corps uniform designed to accommodate his powers without being damaged by them. This uniform is actually highly resistant to damage, including outer space conditions, and is airtight. In addition, the uniform has a built-in life support system and can sustain Rider under the most extreme environmental conditions, including by locking off the mouth and the eyes of the helmet so he can travel through space. The helmet actually contains a radio, a telescopic sight, night vision, and heat imaging sensors, as well as a visual heads-up display for tracking energy signatures. Other than that, guys, that's really Richard Rider's Nova. So if you guys want to learn more about maybe Sam Alexander's Nova, he's still a fairly new character and he still has a bunch of stories coming out. And recently we've been getting a lot more of Richard Rider as well. So if you guys want me to do a character about him, tell me down below. Other than that, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that little alert button. And I'll check you guys back on Saturday. See ya!